Hello and welcome to Galaxy TV's Primetime News. My name is Iribami Salako. We begin with headlines. The Defense Headquarters confirmed 20 persons were killed while 52 others sustained various degrees of injuries in the four suicide bombing attacks in Borno State. Plus on the news, Debt Fund taxes College of Education on primary mandate of sector for intellectual development in the country. From the international scene, more than 50 people are killed in a crash at a religious gathering in northern India. Details of those and more coming your way shortly. To stay with us. Many thanks for joining us at this time. Now, details of the news. Authorities of colleges of education in Nigeria have been advised to focus on primary mandate of the sector for intellectual development in the country. The Executive Secretary of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund and other speakers made the appeal in Abuja at a one-day workshop on emerging areas of student need in beneficiary institutions. Correspondent Kunle Ojo completes the story.
The workshop brought together experts in guidance and counseling, career service centers and teaching practice development centers from various schools across the country. Addressing the gathering, the Executive Secretary, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Soni Echono, emphasized the need for colleges of education to remain focused on training of competent teachers for intellectual development. Echono further stressed the need for teachers as nation builders to keep pace with the trend of development, especially in the area of technology, as teaching has become a global affair, noting that this will enable them to be ahead at all times.
For our growing population, this huge youthful population we have no choice but to find a way of preparing. We will never have enough resources, despite all the best efforts of government or the private sector, to provide schools, classrooms, hostels. We are never going to be able to do physical infrastructure that will cope with these numbers. That is why we must leverage technology, particularly ICT, because of that advantage that it has.
Other keynote speakers at the event decried the neglect of guidance and counseling in schools, which, according to them, has the capacity to shape the future of students and enable them make informed decisions, adding that all ends must be on the deck towards reforming the mechanism for the benefit of the future leaders.
But why is it then the question that guidance and counseling by now has not grown beyond where it is? Almost all our colleges of education, we have these centers. We operate guidance and counseling centers. Yet, we are still where we are.
I believe now the teachers or the educators have more work to do in society than before, because the expectation of a teacher is far more than what it used to be, because you're dealing with the society that looks so complex and the younger one that are put in our hands. So we need to.
High point of the workshop was a presentation of papers on the issue relating to career counseling, student needs, guidelines for assessing career centers, among others. From Abuja, Kunle Ojo, Galaxy TV.
The Defense Headquarters has confirmed that 20 persons were killed while 52 others sustained various degrees of injuries in the four suicide bombing attacks in Gusau local government area of Borno State. Director of Defense Media Operation, Major General Edward Buba, who made the disclosure in a statement released on Tuesday, said all the coordinated suicide bombing attacks took place on Saturday, June 29, 2024. General Buba noted that the threats was recorded at about 3 p.m. when a female suicide bomber disguised as a beggar invaded a wedding reception at Mararaba Al-Sadi Street and detonated improvised explosive device, stating that about 5 p.m. while effort was on to stabilize and move casualties of the initial explosion to hospital for further treatment, the second detonation was carried out by another female suicide bomber in close proximity to the first explosion. He mentioned that the third explosion that was carried out by another lady strapped with IED vest was targeted at the troops enforcing the curfew on the community, killing a soldier and 2 members of hybrid forces. However, the fourth incident was averted when the suspect was identified early enough and she detonated the bomb prematurely, whereby she became the only casualty in the suicide bombing. While calling on citizens to remain vigilant and continue to support efforts of the armed forces to ensure a secure and peaceful future, General Buba assured that the troops of the Nigerian military will stop at nothing to take insurgents out of the battlefield. Now to other stories. The Nigerian Senate has called on the federal government to provide palliative and other support for victims of erosion in Abia North. This call follows a motion moved by Senator Orji Kalu, who emphasized the urgent need for emergency provisions for those affected by flooding in Abia North Senatorial District. Correspondent Kulojo completes the story.
Senator Kalu, representing Abia North, detailed the extensive damage to both lives and property by the flooding and stressed the necessity for immediate intervention. Supporting the motion, other lawmakers, including Senator Osita and Senator Benson, also reported similar occurrences in their respective districts and requested similar support.
Concerned that the destruction caused by this flooding linked to climate change have left affected citizens of the district in pitiable situation. Worried that with the destruction of certain infrastructure affected, resident majority who are rural dwellers, artisans, and farmers are presently facing existence without basic necessity of life.
Erosion is about taking over the entire southeast. In my senatorial zone of Idato North, Idato South, Olu local government, Njaba, erosion have taken over everything. This flooding of 2024 is a major issue because last year we had flooding in this country.
Additionally, the Senate resolved to include affected areas in Olu and Idiato local government area of Imo State in the government intervention response. Responding to the motion, the Deputy Senate President, Senator Barau Jibrin, referenced ongoing efforts relating to the coastal roads and emphasized the need for continued measures to prevent such incidents. He urged affected communities to cooperate with the government and call on relevant ministries to rehabilitate and assess the extent of damage and implement measures to rebuild damaged roads.
Call on the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation and National Emergency Management Agency to urgently make emergency provision available to cushion the effects on victims of the affected communities in Abia North Central District. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it.
The Senate mandated the Committee on Victims Compliance and Environment to ensure adherence to these resolutions and report back within 4 weeks. A minute silence was observed in honor of those who lost their lives during the incident. From the Nigerian Senate, Kunle Ojo, Galaxy TV.
And still with matters from the Red Chambers, the Nigerian Senate has urged the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, to consistently inform and educate the public on climate change ahead of time. Correspondent Kuloju completes the story. This resolution was made on Tuesday following an additional prayer by Senator Daffy Akpeneye, representing Delta Central, who called for NIMET to routinely provide flooding prediction to the public as a standard practice. The sponsor of the motion, Senator Cyril Oluwole from Ekiti North, highlighted the urgent need to offer palliative support to the victims of recent windstorm in the Ipao, Itapaji and Okiaku communities in Ekiti State. He pointed out that the incident has left many homeless and warned that if immediate assistance is not provided, food security in the agrarian district could be severely impacted. The Deputy Senate President, Barao Jibrin, also contributed to the discussion, urging the relevant authorities to deliver the necessary palliatives to the affected communities.
Now, on this subject matter, Mr. President, I want to say that the issue of flooding has become, rainstorm damage and flooding has become a perennial disaster. And I also think that government agencies, like my colleagues, Senator Davnina just said, must be proactive and be up to date in providing the needed information for people to get prepared for rain coming their way.
The Deputy Senate President, Barao Jibrin, also contributed to the discussion, urging the relevant authorities to deliver the necessary palliative to the affected communities.
All the federal government through its Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to send relief packages, most especially food items, building materials, farm tools, and other essential equipment to enable the affected people of Ipao, Itapaji, Ekiti, and Okiaku towns rebuild their homes and alleviate their pains in view of the impending rain season. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Now to the Green Chambers. House of Representatives has denounced the recent suicide bombing in Goza, Borno State, which resulted in the loss of innocent lives and injuries to many. The lawmakers, however, urged security agencies to intensify their effort to contain the situation and to prevent a recurrence. Correspondent Nabochi Nabochi sent in the report.
The decision followed the motion sponsored by Borno State lawmaker Honorable Ahmed Jaha, who condemned the attack, describing it as heinous acts.
In addition to the 30, more than 136 people are critically injured and are receiving treatment in various hospitals in Maiduguri. Thirdly, I want us to know that the suicide bombers, after identifying their faces, it was discovered that they were recruited, they were drugged, they were brainwashed, and they were imported to come to Goza from somewhere to cause this issue. They came in uniform, what is normally called in the northern part of Nigeria, Anko.
Lawmakers, in their contributions to the motion, expressed concern and reservations about the incident. They are worried that the terrorism, which was seen as reduced in the past, is now rearing its ugly head again.
In the last 1 year that we got inaugurated into this house, there is one too many. Mr. Speaker, I think it's high time. We've had jailbreaks, nobody has been sacked. People are killed, nobody has been sacked. It's high time we find somebody responsible. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, if we don't take any action, it's almost 15 years. And this house that we pride, which I believe we are, the house of the people, the earlier we look for scapegoats, which are justifiable, these guys have not lived up to expectations. The president has said, I've given Northerners this position to defend, your people. That is what he said practically.
My surprise is that my urge or my request is that saying we should put all hands on deck, that the all-society approach strategy should be used to detect these type of actions before they happen. That is why I would always suggest that the committee which you chair on constitutional review should please prioritize state police.
My little adjustment is this. I don't think the security apparatus is being charged by a particular region, like my brother Dasuki did say. The Inspector General of Police is not from northern Nigeria. The Chief of Army Staff is not from northern Nigeria. So this thing, we must discuss it as Nigerians, and we must equally, like you did say, security-related committee must live up to their expectation by calling the agencies they are superintending and conducting oversight under to account for what they are doing, that the breakdown in law and order must come to an end.
The lower chamber also urged the federal and state governments to take immediate action to contain the cholera outbreak in the country. The lawmakers mandated the Committee on Orientation, Ethics and Values to oversee public education and enlightenment on personal hygiene. The resolution followed a motion by the minority leader Kingsley Chinda, who expressed concern over the rapid spread of the disease in Lagos and other parts of the country amid reports of vaccine shortages and escalating death tolls. They, however, emphasized the need for swift intervention to prevent further spread and mitigate potential harm to public health.
The House is concerned about the public and personal health of teeming Nigerians, largely due to lack of access to clean water, poor sanitation, poor personal hygiene, etc. The House is worried that there is an urgent need for quick action or intervention by the federal and respective state governments to curb the disease from further spread across the country.
On agriculture, the Green Chamber also urged the federal government, in collaboration with states, to designate at least 18,000 hectares of arable land in each of the 6 geopolitical zones as geo-agricultural zones.
The report further states that agriculture remains a cornerstone of Nigeria's economy, supporting millions of livelihoods and contributing significantly to the nation's GDP. Despite its importance, the sector has faced numerous challenges, including outdated and insufficient data.
Please, can you go to your prayer, please?
Effective planning and resources. I go to the...
They, however, mandated the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to allocate the demarcated land based on comparative advantage in crop cultivation to optimize agricultural productivity in the country. From the National Assembly, I am Nabuchi Oken Nabuchi, reporting for Galaxy Television News.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the House Special Order Committee on the Restructuring of Government Agencies, Parastatals and Commission, Honorable Isiaka Ibrahim, says the current review exercise is to enhance efficiency in the civil service to enable it to meet current realities. Honorable Ibrahim gave the indication during interaction with journalists on the progress and challenges it has encountered so far in the exercise. He said the committee will revisit the recommendations of the Orosayo report and other white paper to ensure that the President Tinubu's administration structure aligns with current realities, best practices, and the changing needs of the Nigerian society. The committee further relayed fears of job loss by civil servants due to the ongoing review.
Talking about margin scrapping agencies, the National Assembly is still creating, that is still making and passing them into an act of the Parliament. You see, the work of legislation is a going process. And the fact that one thing you should not forget, some of what we are going to look at is some agencies were created for a certain exigency of time in the past. We are going to be seriously guided by that factor as well, in such a way that what we are doing or what we are going to do will not be to throw people out of job. No, definitely that will not come up.
You're still on to the news on Galaxy Television. Coming up next. Nigerian Medical Association Kaduna branch demands release of its members whose wife and 4 children were kidnapped at his residence in Kano State. Details of that and more coming your way after the break. Do stay with us. We are glad to have you back. Now, for more update and latest news, please visit our website www.galaxytvonline.com. Connect with us on our X handle at Galaxy TV. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Galaxy TV News. You can follow and interact with us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Galaxy TV. Remember to follow and tag us on our Instagram page at Galaxy TV. You can also avail our eyewitness feature via WhatsApp. If you have breaking news around you, simply share your story by sending short clips or videos of the news on 0818-6666-669. Our social media platforms are user-friendly and can always accommodate your live updates and comments. In its effort in curbing crime and criminality within the South-South region, the Nigeria Hunters and Forest Security Services have called for collaboration between security agencies to rid bandits, kidnappers and armed robbers from the country's forests and farmlands. We have details in this report. In its effort in curbing crime and criminality within the South-South region, the Nigerian Hunters and Forest Security Services have called for collaboration between security agencies to rid bandits, kidnappers and armed robbers from the country's forests and farmlands. The Deputy Commandant General of the Hunters in Rivers State, Ada Nwachukwu, made this known while briefing newsmen in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. He stressed on the need to strengthen their operations and called on state and federal government to advance their activities. Some field commanders also harped on the need for a working synergy with the police and other security agencies.
Well, the reason why we gather today is to make sure we address the issues bothering us and to relate a message to governors of South-South. The last time Mr. President gave the directive or an advice that the governors of South-South should arm and empower hunters to secure the forest.
Encourage our synergy with the state police officers to achieve the essence of Nigerian Hunters and Forest Security Service.
A large ungoverned space, which is the forest and the bushes. And that's our core mandate, to make sure that we destabilize all the criminal elements in the forest and the bushes.
Now to other stories. Senator representing Southern Kaduna has called on the federal government to subsidize the cost of fertilizer in this farming season to be able to achieve food security. The senator said fertilizer constitutes the majority cost value in terms of input in any agricultural produce. That is why he decided to distribute fertilizer to widows and orphans and the less privileged in his constituency. Galaxy TV Bozan Yakusak sent in this report. An unprecedented rise in inflation has destroyed the disposable income of households and pushed many families into poverty in Nigeria, especially farmers in the country. Government must implement measures to curb this inflation, which has remained predominantly driven by escalating food prices. Senator Sunday Marshall Katang, representing Southern Kaduna, says the critical need to address food inflation as a pivotal aspect of managing overall headline inflation has made him to provide fertilizers to the non-privileged, widows, orphans, and the underserved, which government must look into. Farmers says the agricultural sector has recently been challenged by an insurgency, flooding, climate change, which has diversely affected the farmland and the fertilizer given to them, which could never have come at a better time.
Well, I call on government with a very strong voice to significantly reduce or subsidize the cost of fertilizer, being the mainstay of our economy apart from petroleum. In fact, farming should come first before petroleum. So we need fertilizer because our land has been bastardized to the extent that crops can no longer grow without fertilizer application.
We are working towards that. We have made case because we understand the need for our people to have fertilizer so that it can boost their yield. And I want to assure you that going forward, the government of Kaduna State will revisit that very strategy of giving the assembly members fertilizer and other input so that we can at least support our local farmers.
It's a very good effort for our own senator. The masses will enjoy it. The less privileged will enjoy it. But wishing him the best, let him finish his own 8 years tenure in the office.
The truth is, what the senator has done for us, the widows, orphans, less privileged, we can also say thank you to him, because this will really help us. Everything he is looking for, God will provide for him, and he will be bigger than how he is now. These stakeholders say that insecurity really impacted on the agricultural production, but they were glad to see that it was on the decline. But Nigerians must join hands with government to mitigate against these challenges.
Please, and please, this fertilizer are for the widows, less privileged. Let's give to those who have been assigned to get this fertilizer. Don't take this fertilizer to the market. Please, we beg of you. I say we beg of you.
We have silos situated all over the country, and this strategic grains reserve are supposed to store up grains for rainy days like this. So I expect, as the government has started doing, to release these grains from the strategic grains reserve if they are there, so that it will ease the issue of food shortages and food insecurity.
The federal government has donated 1,287 metric tons of maize and 132 metric tons of gari to Oyo State government for distribution to vulnerable members of the society, promising that it will be deliberate in its action on making life better for Nigerians. We have details in this report. The Director General National Emergency Management Agency NEMA, Adia Zubaida Umar, handed over the food items to the state government on behalf of the federal government in Ibadan. Umar, who was represented by the Southwest Zonal Coordinator of NEMA, Adewale Stephen, said the gesture was to provide necessary support to cushion the economic hardship. She said government is committed to the welfare and well-being of Nigerians. The DG explained that the President approved the release of 42,000 metric tons of assorted food commodities from the National Strategic Reserve under the custody of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security.
Items due for each local government area should be given to religious organizations and 3% to be given to boarding schools in the local government areas.
In his remarks, Governor Sheyi Makinde, who was represented by his deputy, Barrister Bayo Lawal, emphasized the significance of the gesture in providing immediate relief and support to vulnerable groups. Makinde said the distribution of food items have been structured in a way that it would reach targeted vulnerables in communities, both in urban and rural areas of the state. The governor called on local government chairmen to ensure that the committee assigned with the task of distribution of food items in the respective council strictly adhere to the distribution template. Speaking on behalf of the local government chairman, the executive chairman of Ogbomoso South Local Government, Timothy Oyedogun, commended the collaboration between the state and federal government in the provision of food items. Oyedogun promised that the distribution guideline and template would not be compromised in the distribution process.
Organizations must be involved in the distribution. Principals of schools must be involved in the distribution. Security personnel in our various local governments also must be involved. Women association, people with disability, youth association, at your local government, you must follow the template strictly.
Advantages of food security. And I asked him the question, is there any disadvantage to food security? Food is very important. Even in our local governments these days, people don't ask us for money again. They will just look at you and say, Alaga, Alebu, power. So this will go a long way to our people in the local government.
And still on that, as part of his food support program to the vulnerable and physically challenged persons in the country, the federal government on Tuesday presented 2,400 bags of rice to the vulnerable, physically challenged and less privileged in Rivers State. The donation by the federal government was made through the wife of the President, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, who was represented by wife of the Rivers State Governor, Valerie Fubara. Speaking of the items, Mrs. Fubara said the items was made possible through collaboration from the First Lady to the Ministry of Agriculture. Also speaking, the President, National Council of Women's Society Rivers Chapter, Jariba Suberukon, said the food items will go a long way in supporting the vulnerables.
The reason why we're gathered here is our mommy, the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, presented every state with the gifts of 25 kg bags of rice. For Rivers State, we received the total sum of 2,400 bags of 25 kg of this rice. So we say a big thank you to our mommy.
Hunger, the rate of hunger in town, I'm really grateful for it. To go a very long way. It will serve the people well. Even the information has gone around a little step. People are happy. They are very happy. You will look at it, but every little thing, even if it is half or 10 cups, it will go a long way.
And to the story teased earlier, the Nigerian Medical Association Kaduna branch received with rude shock the turn of events regarding one of its members whose wife and 4 children were kidnapped on 23rd of June at his residence while he was away in Kano for an official assignment. The kidnappers are demanding 300 million naira to secure their release, while the security agencies have been informed and negotiations with the kidnappers ongoing. They received the shocking news that the first son was killed to force payment of the said sum. In response, the body called for an emergency SEC meeting on Tuesday and a press conference to further call on the authorities to expedite action on securing the immediate release and also release of the other doctor kidnapped 6 months ago. Now, Oyo State Police Command reveals that 12 suspects have been arrested in connection with the violent protest that rocked one of the factories belonging to Suma Foods, Oluyole Extension, Ibadan, on Monday, 1st July 2024, around 4 p.m. Preliminary investigation reveals that the protest was premised on a widespread false information authored and peddled by some of the workers concerning the disbursement of palliative to all private-owned companies and firms in the country. Their grounds, however, was that they were being denied the welfare package. Sadly, the protest was hijacked by criminal elements who forced their way into the factory, destroying vehicles and property worth millions of naira, and one death was recorded during the violent protest. However, normalcy has since returned to the affected area with the immediate deployment of command's operational and tactical assets to prevent any possible future recurrence. Furthermore, the CPRs ordered that the entire case be taken up by the Homicide Department of the Criminal Investigation Department, with the Deputy Commissioner of Police directly in charge of the investigation. The 4 labor unions of Federal College of Education Technical in Akoka, Lagos, have unanimously removed of Wolfco Wahab Aziz as the provost of the school. The protesting staff of the institution accused the provost of mismanagement and high-handedness, which they claim are inimical to the growth and survival of the college. Galaxy News correspondent Lebi Joseph Asmo in this report.
At a different emergency congress held simultaneously by Colleges of Education Academic Staff Union and Senior Staff Union in Colleges of Education Nigeria, a motion was moved declaring vote of no confidence in the provost, Dr. Wahab Aziz, and they agreed to reject him as the provost of the institution.
Let the Nigerian government know this, let the police hear this. The protests have been on for over 5 weeks peacefully, but now Wahab Ademola Aziz, PhD, has called for a jihad. He is on the platform. When buses are going out, we want to make our voice out to the world, and most importantly, to the president of this nation, that collectively, SPT ACOPA, academic staff are saying we don't want Ademola Azeez as our president.
The protesting staff declared that they are not fighting for their own selfish interest, but for the progress of the institution, which they claimed has been on the decline for some time. They complained about the sorry conditions of hostels and the toilets that students are using, among other infrastructures in the school that are in bad shape.
So whatever way that the opposite camp goes, let it be on record that the staff of Federal College of Education Technical are not after any religious interest. Yes, that we are not after any personal interest as we say. Our interest is for the progress of this college. This college has come into decades, over years. The proofs are there. So as it stands now, we are here to tell all of you officially that we've been invited to Abuja. Yes, we've taken a stand before. We will do it again. We will know whether members of staff, whether their view concerning this matter has changed. We will take a decision.
The four unions of the institution are billed for a meeting with the Minister of Education this Thursday in Abuja, where it is expected to find lasting solution to the industrial face-off in the Federal College of Education Technical Akoka. This is Lebby Joseph reporting for Galaxy Television News.
Now we move to the international desk for the news. This is news from the international scene. More than 50 people have been killed in a crash at a religious gathering in northern India, officials have said. The incident took place at Satsang, a Hindu religious event in Hathras district in Uttar Pradesh state. A figure of nearly 50 to 60 deaths have been reported to me by doctors, District Magistrate of Hathras Ashish Kumar said. The victims, including a large number of women and some children, are still being identified. Survivors have described how the disaster unfolded as they tried to leave the event in Mugalagri village. An eyewitness who asked to remain anonymous told newsmen everything was going fine until all of a sudden he heard screams, and before he knew it, people were falling on each other. Many were crushed and he couldn't do much. He was just lucky to have survived, he said. When the sermon finished, everyone started running out. A woman named Oli as Shakuntala told newsmen. People fell in a drain by the road. They started falling on top of one another and got crushed to death. Umesh Kumar Tripathi, chief medical officer from the neighboring district of Eta, told reporters the stampede had left at least 3 children dead. The stress and images from the site are being circulated online. Some videos show the injured being taken to hospitals in pickup trucks, tuk-tuks and even motorbikes. A clip seen by newsmen showed several bodies left at the entrance of a local hospital as relatives screamed for help. The UN says 250,000 Palestinians in southern Gaza have been affected by evacuation orders from the Israeli military. Many people have been fleeing areas in and around the second city of Khan Yunis on foot and by car. Patients and medical staff have also been leaving a major hospital in the area, although the military said they were not subject to an evacuation order. Gazan health officials say 8 Palestinians were killed and dozens wounded during the overnight Israeli strike. Louise Waterage, an official with the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees in Gaza, asked where people could go as they were forced to leave their homes once again. In this area, people were already forced to survive in severely damaged, destroyed, structurally unsafe buildings after the Rafah military operations, she said. Map of southern Gaza Strip showing Khan Yunis and the European Gaza Hospital once again on the move. Other than carts, motorbikes and pickup trucks, thousands of Palestinians have been fleeing towns and villages to the east of Khan Yunis. After issuing evacuation orders on Monday evening, the Israeli military mounted strikes overnight on the area, from which it says around 20 projectiles were fired into Israel on Monday morning, the biggest such barrage for months. The military said it hit targets including a weapons storage facility and operational centers of Palestinian armed groups. Kenyan police have fired tear gas in the capital Nairobi and the coastal city of Mombasa to disperse anti-government protests. In both city centers, many businesses have remained closed. Demonstrators have also taken to the streets of other cities, including Kisumu. Human rights groups say since the protests against a controversial finance bill began 2 weeks ago, 39 people have been killed by security forces. President William Ruto has since dropped the proposed tax increases, but the demonstrations have morphed into a call for him to resign and anger over police brutality in the most serious crisis of his presidency. The scale of demonstrations is smaller than last week's, but chaotic scenes have been witnessed in Mombasa, where cars were seen burning as protesters clashed with police. In Nairobi, there is a huge security presence, with running battles along some of the main roads leading to the center. Groups of protesters lit fires and threw stones at police. In the central business areas of Nairobi and Mombasa, some shop owners have hired vigilantes to patrol with clubs to guard against looting. Still on the international scene, Donald Trump's lawyers have asked for the former president's conviction in his hush money criminal case to be overturned and his sentencing this month delayed, U.S. media report. A letter sent by Trump's lawyer to the New York judge presiding over the trial reportedly cites Monday's Supreme Court ruling that granted the former president immunity from prosecution for official actions he took while in office. In May, Trump was convicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records. He will be sentenced on 11 July. His team points out that he signed off records while he was president in 2017, but one lawyer suggested this was unlikely to be considered an official act. Last year, Trump's lawyers similarly argued that the allegations of the case involved that they were within the scope of his official presidential duties. However, a federal judge wrote that Trump had failed to show that his conduct was for or relating to any act performed by or for the president on the scope of the official acts of a president. Monday's ruling by the Supreme Court was hailed by Trump as a big win for democracy. The justices found that the president had immunity for official acts but was not immune for unofficial acts. The ruling related to a separate case against Trump. He is suspected of trying to illegally overturn the 2020 presidential election result that gave victory to Joe Biden. Reacting to the Supreme Court ruling, President Biden described it as a dangerous precedent that undermines the rule of law in America. Cambodia has jailed 10 environmental activists who have sounded the alarm on river pollution for plotting against the government, a case critics have decried as politically motivated. Members of the group Mother Nature were charged in 2021 after they documented waste runoff into Phnom Penh Tonle Sap River near the Royal Palace. 3 of them, including Spanish co-founder Alejandro González Davison, who was also convicted of insulting the king, was sentenced to 8 years jail and fined $2,500. The 7 others were handed 6-year terms. Prosecutors have never explained how the activists have violated the law against insulting the king or conspiring against the government. Since its founding in 2013, Mother Nature had campaigned against environmentally destructive projects and raised questions on how natural resources are managed in the Southeast Asian country. They documented their findings and play for an informative video that they post on Facebook, where they have 457,000 followers. Environmental groups have long accused Cambodia's leaders of profiting from the country's natural resources. The government denies this and says Mother Nature is encouraging social unrest. Gonzales Davison, who was earlier banned from entering Cambodia, called the verdict a disastrous decision by the Hum family regime. Lastly, on the international scene, a deadly hurricane which has been tearing through the Caribbean is intensifying as it moves towards Jamaica. Hurricane Beryl is now a Category 5 storm, meaning its winds and storm surges could prove catastrophic. The storm made landfall on Monday in Carriacou, an island which is part of Grenada. So far, there are reports of 3 people dead as a result of the storm, 2 in Grenada and 1 in St. Vincent. Beryl hit land on Monday as a Category 4 hurricane with sustained winds of 150 miles per hour. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said Carriacou has taken a direct hit from Hurricane Beryl, extremely dangerous eye wall, a ring of thunderstorm which produces heavy rain and particularly strong winds. Communications with Carriacou and the nearby island of Petite Martinique are still disrupted. The Prime Minister of Grenada, Dixon Mitchell, warned that there could be more fatalities than the 2 reported in Grenada so far. Mitchell said the true extent of the damage would not be known until officials were able to reach the island. Mikey Hutchinson, a journalist in Grenada, told newsmen that at the height of the storm, the situation had been really bad. And that's it from the international scene. Coming your way next, entertainment news.
Welcome to Entertainment News. My name is Rose Blossom Mwe. Today's news, Ice Prince has actually debunked the rumors and of course the claims of Moet Abobe, where she says they are in a relationship. But here's the rest of the story for today. We'll be right back. Nigerian rapper Ice Prince has denied being in a 12-year relationship with media personality Moet Abebe. It was reported last week that Moet had left many baffled as she revealed that the rapper is a boyfriend and they've been dating for 12 years and counting. However, in an interview with Danjuma on the Date Biz, Ice Prince denied being in any relationship as he stated that he isn't in his frame of mind. He revealed that though he is a lover boy and falls in love deeply, it has been hard finding love. The rapper admitted that his mind hasn't been in the right place for a relationship, and as much he doesn't want to be a burden or cause distress to any woman. He noted how his album has always been taking much of his time and added to relationships are a financial burden. Reacting to his statement, many noted how Moet was only being sarcastic in catching cruise. Popular comedian Sidney Talker went on a melancholic rant on his page and he had concerns about the state of the content creation industry. In his post, which he dedicated to the awareness of the apparent decline in good content because most of them are now into making movies, music and all the businesses trying to bag bigger things. He noted that the content creation industry is losing relevance because the new and aspiring ones are not gaining relevance. Sidney said that they are losing their space on Instagram to bloggers and activists. Talker shaded self-acclaimed activist Very Dark Man and others in an extensive note written on his page. Sidney enlightened upcoming content creators about owning the social media space, which according to him belongs to them, especially Instagram. Talker noted that bloggers and activists are already taking over their space, and without a doubt, VDM is one of the Nigerians' most talked about activists. He also spoke about how veteran skit makers are gradually pulling out to venture into other aspects of their careers, such as filmmaking, music, and others. He called on the younger ones to take over and stay relevant in the industry. In another caption, he stated that he's not an influencer, stating that DJ Chicken and Pella are influencers. Portable is a top musician and an influencer. He wrote it boldly that he is a content creator but can influence if he wants to. He said a content creator can be an influencer, but an influencer cannot be a content creator. Just as God is good, but good isn't God. He pleaded that they should be innovative. One of Sydney Talker's followers responded to his rant by stating that they lack support. Going forward, Sydney Talker also attached a few Bible verses that were meant to serve as words of encouragement for upcoming content creators and struggling ones. Actress Rita Dominic has reacted to a critic who make fun of her for a movie role she starred in. According to the ex-user, Rita Dominic's brand has outgrown certain movie roles. The critic made fun of her participation in the reality show Lucky Wives, saying the actress was above the standard. Rita Dominic replied that only those without creative integrity could speak in such a way, and she warned her colleagues never to pay attention to them. She reminded them that the artistic expression shouldn't be constrained by meaningless remarks and stressed the value of maintaining artistic integrity. The movie star believes that Nollywood celebrities shouldn't put boundaries on their work. Instead, they should embrace any opportunity to express their creativity. More allegations continue to trail the marriage of the newlywed actress Sharon Oja as Ugo Nwoke's third ex-wife's friend weighs in on the issue. This comes after allegations trailed the couple about the alleged fake life of Ugo, whose first name is Emmanuel, who works at a Virgin office in Los Angeles but is not a billionaire businessman. A social media user who claims to be the friend of Ugo's third ex-wife lamented how the newlywed man is celebrating a fresh marriage while his ex-wife is mourning. She recounted how it worked into her friend's life like an angel in 2022, only to become her worst nightmare in the short marriage. The lady concluded by advising Sharon to take caution in the marriage so she does not end up heartbroken. Finally, Nollywood actress Sonia Ogiri challenged her colleague Iyabo Ojo with probing questions regarding her ongoing dispute with Very Dark Man. Iyabo Ojo's dispute with Very Dark Man resumed after the social media activist claimed Iyabo Ojo was only invited to the after party of Davido's wedding, contrary to her assertions in the video. Sonia posted on Instagram saying ignoring some Nigerians' misbehavior on the internet is difficult, prompting her to ask Iyabo questions. She questioned why Iyabo keeps disgracing herself and her family and if she was not tired of engaging in everything. She asked what her problem was and advised her to learn from her colleagues like Genevieve and Omotola, who does not engage in constituting nuisance. And that'll be all on entertainment news. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Rose Blossom. Bye for now.
And that is all we have for you. We thank you so much for watching. My name is Yeriba Mr. Lako. Goodbye.